This exercise is heel raises, which works the calf muscle. You're going to start with your feet hip width apart. So not shoulder width apart, hip width apart. Thinking about where the position of your pelvis is, that you're not sticking your bottom out or under. Shoulder, chin. So hold your body in your best posture you can. And all we're going to do is raise up slowly onto the balls of the feet and back down again. So if you need the support of a chair, that's fine. And it's both feet together. And you're only going to come up as high as you comfortably can without your ankles wobbling. Hold it towards the top and control it back down. For some people, that's the hard part, controlling it back down. Now, I'm standing on double mats here, so I'm challenging myself just that little bit more. If you've got a really thick carpet or fitness mat that you're standing on and you're struggling, maybe move on to a hard floor. If you're doing it on a hard floor and finding it really easy, then please challenge yourself, take it a little bit higher. There's another exercise that's really good at working the muscles around the knee to help support and strengthen the knee. But you need to make sure that your knees are pointing forward, your kneecaps are pointing forward. And that your knees aren't, you aren't knocking them in, that you've got that little bit of gap between your knees. And just do as many as you comfortably can. You can always come back and do a few more later or another day. But really good exercise to keep the blood flowing through the legs. Well done, let us shake out. In this exercise, I'd like to challenge your balance by standing on one leg and bringing the other knee up. So I'm going to start with the harder version, which is bringing the knee up, hold, breathing out, breathing in as you take it down, nice and slow, change sides. If you can keep that pelvis as still as possible, stable as possible, great. But here, lift and down, trying to keep the feet hip width apart as you come down, trying to keep the pelvis as level as possible. You'll probably see I'm going from side to side. I suspect you will as well, but just challenge those balance muscles. Holding onto the knee is going to help a little bit because you're using your hands to stabilize. So if you want to make it a bit harder, you can just lift and hold and then take it down. You've got to go with what's right for you. Now, if that really is too hard for you, I'm going to ask you to use just fingertips on your chair. You might have your chair slightly in front of you or a worktop, but try and make it fingertips, or fingertips on the wall works as well, but minimal, so that you're challenging your knee, your pelvis and your ankles to stay as stable as you can. So go with what works for you. You need to be challenging yourself. So if it's really easy, you need to change to a version that isn't so easy for you. Another version. If you really are struggling and don't have a chair, what I'm going to ask you to do is just take your foot in front of you so that you've just got your toe for balance, and then bring it back. So we're just taking it forward onto the toe so that the weight is back and this toe is just loosely for balance, and bring it back. Slide that foot forward. If you can take the leg up, great. If you can't, keep the toe on the floor and bring it back. Weight off if you can, or use that foot for balance. Well done. This exercise is really good at working your quads, the front of your thighs, and your hamstrings, the back of your thighs. We're going to try and do about 10 on each side, but if you find after 5 or even less you've had enough, you're going to stop, change to the other side, and then go back and do the first side again, but that's your choice. Okay, so sliding that right leg out in front, you're going to lift, bend it back, straighten and bend. I'm holding the side of the chair for support. I'm trying to sit as upright as I can, keeping breathing. Breathing out, breathing in. That's 4. That's 5. If you think you can do another 5 on that side, I'm going to ask you to keep going on that side. If not, join me. We're going to go to the other side lift. Breathing out, breathing in, sitting nice and upright, thinking about our posture. Don't forget, you can always rest when you choose. When you find you're not doing the exercise properly or it gets to be too much, you're going to stop and put your foot to the floor. Okay, those of you that have done just the one side, you're going to change to the other. If you've worked along with me and changed sides halfway through, we're going to go back to the first leg. Lift and bend and straighten. You might not find you can do all 5 this time, even if you did the first 5. If you were finding it quite hard as we got to number 5, you're going to be finding it even harder now. Last one. And release. Let's change side. It also works your hip flexors, this exercise. I can really feel it in there. Lengthening the other leg out, or obviously keep going if you were doing the other version. Well done. Thinking about your posture, sitting nice and upright. And rest. Well done. Let's do a little bit of stretch. So options. Either you're going to just push that leg back and feel that stretch. Make sure you're not going to fall off your chair. You can kneel down on the floor if you want to extend that a bit more, or come up to standing and come forward, tilt the pelvis under till you feel the stretch. You know where you want it to be. Just adjust your body, maybe twist around so that you're feeling that where you need to. For me, I need it in here. And then change. So you're either going to slide that leg back underneath, or you're going to come back, or you can come down onto your mat and kneel forward and stretch. Trying to tilt that pelvis underneath, so curling up and under, pushing forward. Whichever version works for you, standing, seated on the chair, or down on the mat. Great work. I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably on your chair with your feet flat on the floor, hip width apart, hands come onto your thighs, and your body stays upright, so a neutral spine, so we're not arching it backwards or forwards, and we're just going to fold from the waist. So I want you to keep that length in your spine. We're not going to roll the shoulders forward. It doesn't matter how far forward you come. Hands on the thighs, hip hinges. So you're going to come forward and back up. So you might feel this tension in your lower back. So you might be able to come all the way forward, but keep that head in line. You're not worrying about how far forward you come. You're just worried about getting some movement in those hips. Watch your chair isn't going to slide. I just felt mine slide away from me slightly. So you need to adjust your position on your chair depending on your height. Because I'm quite short, I've had to sit quite a long way forward on my chair in order to do this. If you're taller, you could sit further back in your chair and your feet might be at a slightly different angle at the front. Just feeling that motion in the hips as you breathe out, as you go down, in as you come back up. Now ideally you're going to be using your own muscles to come back up. So if you want to challenge yourself, if you're a bit fitter and you're doing this because you've got maybe ankle or hip problems, you might want to put your hand behind your head and add some weight. But please, if you're older or you've got problems with your spine, really not advisable, or if you've got osteoporosis. So if that's the case, support your body weight with your hands and just get that movement in the spine. Couple more if you can, but listen to your body. You know when you've had enough. You know how big or small a movement you should be doing here. Great. I find with this one that actually to do a little bit of almost hip circles, but you have to circle the body. just to release through the spine, or maybe arch and round, just to release through that lower back. Exercise tends to cause a little bit of tension in the lower back. This exercise is standing leg circles, so it's really good for mobility of your hips, but also for balance and pelvic stability. So if you need to, you're going to hold a chair and put your fingertips on the chair. Try and keep the pelvis as level as possible so you're not going to hitch the hip up. And all we're going to do is take a little circle. So join me when you're ready, a circle with the foot. Now you might be sliding that foot along the ground. You might decide to just hold here. Now you have options. Make sure you're under control. So if you're standing behind your chair, put your forearms against your hips and just check that they're staying stable. If you're not using a chair, then maybe put your hands on your hips and just feel what's going on. Now, if you're finding that easy with the toe on the floor, you can take the leg a little higher off the floor. But we really want to make sure that pelvis is staying as level as possible. So take the foot onto the floor if you need to. Make it smaller if you need to. Stop when you feel you have to. If you're really strong, you might want to take it up higher. But you've got to go with what is right for you. So I'm going to keep it a little bit lower. We're going to change sides, so you might want to come to the other side of your chair and do exactly the same, taking that leg round in a circle. So you might be taking it up high, or you might be keeping it on the mat. I'm going to move across so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing, but feel free to hold on to your chair, work surface, or wall if you need to. Okay, so that was taking it in one direction. I'm going to go back to the first leg. Again, trying to keep that pelvis still as possible. I'm going to go in the other direction. So taking it back round, keeping the toe on the floor if you need to. Always find it a little bit more awkward going in the other direction. Trying to keep that pelvis as still as possible. And back to the first side, going in the reverse direction. So I'm going back first this time. I went forward first last time. Just go with whichever direction you didn't go the first time around. Try and avoid leaning into your chair, so you're trying to keep that as still as possible, keeping the toe on the ground if you can. Quite a fast movement here because we really are looking at mobility in the hip more than anything else. Well done. Might want to give that a little bit of a kick out, shake out. This exercise is really good for working the shins and for ankle mobility. You're going to need a wall. If you can't, then please sit in a chair and you can do exactly the same thing sat in the chair, but you're going to get a better benefit from it by doing it leaning against a wall. Bend your knees down slightly, take the feet hip width apart slightly in front of you, and just lift and lower those heels, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Really feel those shins working. Keeping those knees apart. Watch you haven't let your knees drop in together. Pelvis should be neutral, so there's a little bit of gap under the lower back. Head should be in line with the wall, shoulders pushed back against the wall. Arms relaxed, palms facing inwards. You're going to feel that on the thighs as well. So we're not sitting a long way down. This isn't about really working the quads. We're trying to work the front of the shins. However, you are going to feel it here if these muscles are weak. Okay, couple more if you can, but if it's enough, please feel free to stop. Well done. And you're really going to need to give that a shake out. I actually find quite nice after that to just push the front of my foot against the floor and stretch through the front of that shin and release. Just a quick short stretch to release that out. Great.